All right, get this. We are diving deep, and I mean deep, into the Enfield Poltergeist case.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this one's a doozy. We're talking 1970s London, an ordinary house turned paranormal playground. Furniture moving by itself, disembodied voices, the works. You might recognize it from The Conjuring too, but hold on to your hats, folks, because we're peeling back the Hollywood horror and going straight to the source.
Straight to the source, I like it. And it's a story that still sends chills down your spine no matter how skeptical you try to be.
No kidding. I mean, it's that what if factor, right? What if
Yeah.
it's real? That's what gets you.
Right.
And that's exactly what we're tackling in this deep dive. We're going beyond the movie magic and digging into the actual events, the stuff that had people all over the world questioning the very fabric of reality. And let me tell you, the more you dig into the Enfield case, the weirder it gets. So to set the stage, picture this. 1977, Enfield, London. We've got the Hodgson family, single mother Peggy, and her 4 kids, just trying to get by, just like any other family.
An ordinary family in an ordinary house, or so they thought. It's the classic haunted house setup, isn't it? The normalcy just makes the paranormal that much more jarring.
Absolutely. It's like the universe decided to say, hey, remember everything you thought you knew about how the world works? Yeah, think again. And for the Hodgsons, this cosmic reality check starts with the creepiest of whispers.
Oh, you know those whispers, those unexplained noises, things that go bump in the night. We've all been there.
Right. You hear a creak, you see a shadow, and your mind starts to wander. But for the Hodgsons, those whispers quickly turned into full-blown screams. Imagine being Peggy, hearing strange noises coming from your daughter's room night after night. At first you'd think, oh, kids, right.
Just typical kid stuff, running around, making noise, maybe a pillow fight gone wrong. You wouldn't think much of it at first. But when Peggy went to investigate, what she found was far from child's play.
Oh no, not even close. This wasn't just a mess of toys or a giggling fit. Peggy walks in to find her daughters, Margaret, who was 13 at the time, and 11-year-old Janet, huddled in a corner, absolutely terrified.
Terrified, and for good reason.
And here's where it goes from unsettling to downright unbelievable. A heavy chest of drawers, the kind your grandma probably had, starts moving across the room on its own, like something invisible is pushing it with a vengeance.
You're talking furniture with a mind of its own. Now that's just not right.
I know, right? And get this, Peggy even tried to stop it. You know, like a normal person would do when furniture starts acting possessed.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't budge.
It's like something out of a horror movie. You're telling me this wasn't a creaky floorboard or a draft? This was the real deal.
Oh, yeah. This was no ordinary haunting. This is a full-blown paranormal smackdown. So picture this. It's the dead of night. Furniture's rebelling against the laws of physics. Your kids are white as sheets. What do?
I'm thinking you grab your kids, maybe a flashlight, and get out of there. Fast.
Bingo. You got it. And that's exactly what the Hodgsons did. They hightailed it out of there, fleeing to their neighbors, the Nottinghams, in the middle of the night.
Smart move. But here's where the Enfield case starts to separate itself from your average haunted house tale.
Oh, how so?
Because it wasn't just the Hodgsons who experienced these strange events. Vic Nottingham, the neighbor, actually went back into the house with Peggy.
Talk about a brave soul.
Right, and guess what? He heard the noises too.
No way. So now it's not just a scared family, it's 2 separate households dealing with this paranormal chaos. And get this, it gets even weirder. A police officer, someone trained to be skeptical and level-headed, actually witnessed a chair moving across the room, seemingly by itself.
A police officer? You've got to be kidding me.
Nope, not kidding. Even the police were baffled by this case. I mean, we're talking about a trained observer, someone who deals with facts and evidence, and even they were left scratching their heads. That's when you know it's serious.
It's like the Enfield poltergeist wanted to make sure everyone knew it was the real deal, even the authorities.
A police officer seeing a chair move on its own. You really can't make this stuff up. And here I thought ghost stories were just for campfire scares.
Oh, the Enfield case is anything but a campfire story. This is where things went from a local haunting to a full-blown media frenzy. You see, this wasn't just a one-night wonder.
Oh yeah, this wasn't your typical, oh, the lights flickered, I think I saw something kind of haunting. This thing dragged on and on and on.
We're talking almost 18 months of paranormal activity, relentless and terrifying. Imagine living like that day after day, never knowing what would happen next.
It sends chills down your spine just thinking about it. The constant fear, the uncertainty. It would be enough to drive anyone mad. And to make matters worse, the media caught wind of the story.
As they always do. Can you imagine the headlines? Terror in Enfield. family held hostage by Poltergeist. The more sensational, the better.
Oh, absolutely. And the Hodgsons, desperate for answers, they reached out to the Daily Mirror, one of the biggest newspapers in the UK. Talk about adding fuel to the fire. Suddenly, the whole world had their eyes on this little house in Enfield.
It's the kind of story that captures the imagination, doesn't it? The possibility of something beyond our understanding, lurking in the shadows.
Absolutely. And the Daily Mirror, well, they sent a reporter to the house to cover the story. And get this, at first, things were quiet, eerily quiet. The reporter's thinking, okay, this is a bust. What am I going to tell my editor? I can picture him now, notebook in hand, ready to pack it in and chalk it up to overactive imaginations. And just as he's about to leave, bam, a Lego brick out of nowhere clocks him right above the eye.
A Lego brick? Are you serious?
Dead serious.
Yeah.
It's like the Poltergeist had a sense of humor, a slightly twisted one.
Yeah.
But you've got to admit, that's a pretty hard detail to fake. A Lego brick to the face. It's those small, specific details that really make you wonder.
You're telling me. And this wasn't just kids throwing Legos around. The sheer volume and variety of events at Enfield attracted the attention of some serious paranormal investigators.
We're talking the Ghostbusters of their time. Who exactly are we talking about?
We're talking about researchers from the Society for Psychical Research, the SPR. These weren't your average ghost hunters. They were dedicated to investigating paranormal claims using a more, shall we say, scientific approach.
So less, ooh, spooky, and more, let's document this and see if there's a rational explanation.
Exactly. One of the key figures in the Enfield case was Maurice Grosse, a meticulous investigator from the SPR. He spent months at the Hodgson house, carefully documenting everything he witnessed.
And what did he find? Did he just dismiss it all as a hoax?
Quite the opposite. Grosse documented over 2,000 instances of paranormal activity at the Enfield house. We're talking furniture moving, objects levitating, even reports of small fires igniting spontaneously. Grosse left Enfield convinced that he had witnessed something truly unexplainable.
2,000 instances. Okay, even I have to admit that's a lot of paranormal activity. I mean, at what point do you say, okay, something strange is definitely going on here?
It's hard to argue with that kind of volume, isn't it? But here's where things take an even stranger turn. Remember those disembodied voices we talked about earlier? The whispers, the strange noises. Oh, how could I forget? I'm already picturing myself sleeping with the lights on tonight.
Well, those voices, they didn't just whisper, they started talking. And the voice that sent chills down everyone's spine belonged to young Janet Hodgson.
Janet, the 11-year-old. You're telling me she was possessed?
It wasn't quite possession in the Hollywood sense. Witnesses described Janet slipping into these trance-like states, her voice changing completely, becoming this deep, raspy growl that sent chills down everyone's spine. And this voice, it had a name. It called itself Bill Wilkins.
Bill Wilkins. Now that's just spooky. Wait a minute. Is there something I'm missing here?
You're not missing anything. It turns out a man named Bill Wilkins actually died in that very house years earlier. No way. Okay, you've got to be kidding me. This is straight out of a horror movie. A little girl, a disembodied voice, a previous tenant who died in the house. It's almost too perfect.
It's a detail that's hard to ignore, even for the most skeptical among us.
Okay, a dead guy named Bill speaking through a little girl. You really can't make this stuff up. I mean, that's primetime paranormal investigation material right there. But wait a minute, this all sounds a little too good to be true, right?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Was it a genuine haunting, or was there something else going on in that Enfield house?
Okay, so spill the beans. What are we talking about here? Elaborate pranks, hallucinations, mass hysteria?
You hit the nail on the head with that last one. While some people left Enfield convinced they had witnessed something truly unexplainable, not everyone was buying it.
Really? So who are the skeptics, and what was their take on all this?
Well, remember those two SPR experts we mentioned earlier? The ones who weren't quite convinced about the paranormal activity. They actually observed the children, particularly Janet, and suspected that they might be behind some, if not all, of the strange occurrences.
So are we saying that Janet, this 11-year-old girl, was the mastermind behind the Enfield poltergeist?
It's not that simple. See, these experts actually caught the children bending spoons, claiming to be responsible for some of the phenomena that had been attributed to the poltergeist.
Wait, so they admitted to faking some of it? Talk about a twist. But that doesn't explain everything, does it? I mean, the furniture moving, the disembodied voice.
You're right. It doesn't explain everything. And that's what makes the Enfield case so fascinating, so frustratingly captivating. It's this blurry mess of compelling events, possible trickery, and the undeniable power of suggestion.
Okay, so how do we even begin to make sense of all this? Where do we draw the line between genuine paranormal activity and, well, kids being kids?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And there's no easy answer. See, the Enfield case forces us to confront the complexities of human behavior, the power of belief, and the very nature of reality itself.
It's like that saying, we don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. Our beliefs, our expectations, they shape our perceptions, especially when it comes to the unknown.
Precisely. And when you throw in the media frenzy, the constant scrutiny, it's no wonder these kids might have gotten caught up in the excitement, blurring the lines between reality and make-believe.
So are we saying that the Enfield poltergeist was all just a big misunderstanding? A case of kids playing pranks and getting a little carried away?
Not necessarily. It's entirely possible that something genuinely unexplainable occurred in that house. Maybe those initial events, the furniture moving, the noises were real, and the attention, the pressure, it created a feedback loop, amplifying the situation, leading to those moments of admitted fakery. Or maybe it was all a hoax from the start. The Enfield case, it doesn't offer easy answers, and that's what makes it so endlessly fascinating.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle where some of the pieces are missing, and the ones you do have, well, they might be from a completely different box. So what's the takeaway here? Are we supposed to believe in ghosts now, or write it all off as a big hoax?
I think the real takeaway from the Enfield case is that sometimes the most intriguing mysteries are those that remain unsolved. It's about grappling with the unknown, questioning what we think we know, and accepting that sometimes there are no easy answers.
Well said. The Enfield poltergeist, whether a genuine haunting, a clever hoax, or a bit of both, it continues to fascinate and frighten us, reminding us that the world is a stranger, more wonderful, and yes, sometimes scarier place than we could ever imagine. And that's what makes exploring these mysteries so captivating. Until next time, keep those lights on and sleep tight.